So sometime in the past year, I have to admit, I felt envious of another priest, a young priest named Father Richard Conlon. I don't remember exactly why. It was one of two reasons, either because some people here were leaving this church to go to his church, Corpus Christi, or because he was getting more YouTube views than I was. And so when I reflected on it, it dawned on me, oh my goodness, I'm actually very insecure. So here it is. I've got a priest who's doing better than I am. He's 15 years my junior, and he's not even that good. Just kidding. So I'm bringing this up right now, just being vulnerable with all of you, because all of us are tempted to envy. And I hope right now you can all be you can be vulnerable in your hearts. So what kind of blessings in other people's lives make you sad? Do you resent anyone? Do you resent any categories of people? Is there someone in your family that you're envious of, a coworker, friend? Do you, for example, maybe resent healthy people if you're sick? Or you resent professionals or executives, single people, married people, whatever? And envy will always strike us in areas that are important to us. So I don't really care anymore if people make more money than I do. That's no longer important to me. But apparently this example I've just told you about, it reveals, I guess, YouTube views are important to me. And let's say beauty is very important to you. So if you see someone who's more attractive, that will hit your heart. Or let's say you struggle with loneliness. Whenever you see people with thriving relationships, that will hurt. St. James, in the letter today, the second reading, he says that envy comes from ourself. Where there is envy and selfish ambition, there will also be disorder and wickedness of every kind. Those conflicts and disputes among you, where do they come from? Do they not come from your cravings that are at war within you? So he connects envy with selfish ambition and your craving. So there's something in you, you want something, you're not getting it, someone else has it, and so you act differently around them because you can't be happy for them, and that makes for bad relationships. Andy Stanley, this famous evangelical leader, he says that this verse exposes our pettiness. Envy, I want something, I don't have it. It's petty. An older priest, jealous of a younger priest? Petty. And he draws on this verse. Whenever his children are arguing, before he tries to find out who's right, who's wrong, he gets them, he says, to all say out loud, he says this, everyone has to say out loud together, do you know what the problem is? I'm not getting what I want. He says his kids hate when he does that. But as soon as they all say that out loud, the volume drops, the energy level drops. St. James continues, you do not have because you do not ask. You don't have what you want because you're not asking God the Father. And that is the center of the homily today. Bring all your desires to God the Father. So if there's something important to you, you want something, it's important to Him. He cares about you. He listens to you. He wants what's best for you. And so you have to keep on bringing those desires to God the Father until you find peace, until you are absolutely certain He cares about me. But here's the thing we all know, He still might not give it to us. St. James says, you ask and do not receive because you ask wrongly, in order to spend what you get on your pleasures. Sometimes we ask wrongly. We ask for things that aren't necessary. Some of us might want to be taller. Some of us, well, actually all of us, there are parts of our body we're not happy with. We wish it could change. Yeah, that's actually not necessary. And let's say God the Father were to give you what you want. You want that bigger car or that better car, that bigger house, the raise. That actually might hurt your soul. It's very possible. So as a good Father, He won't give us everything we want. He could give it to us. He doesn't. And He has His reasons. But think about this. Our disappointment with not getting what we want pales in significance next to the fact that we've been given what we most needed. In the shadow of the cross, it's clear. God doesn't owe us anything. We owe him everything, including an apology. He's given us the one thing necessary, salvation. He offers that to us. He loves us so much. He gives us his son to die for us. And when you think about that, when you really start appreciating that, why would you be envious about other things you don't have? And if you're still envious, that's a sign you don't appreciate the cross. It's a sign you're still thinking wrongly. You're still asking God wrongly. So this is the wisdom St. James is talking about. Wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits. So pure wisdom, first of all, goes to God. So the first thing I want all of us to do today is bring our envy to God the Father. Focus on him. Stop focusing on yourselves and the things you don't have. Look to him. Talk to him about it. But wisdom, it's also peaceable, gentle, willing to yield. And that's the key one we're going to focus on, willing to yield. The second thing I want all of us to do is to celebrate the people we are envious of. So Andy Stanley says, he has another friend in his life who's also a preacher. And this preacher is really successful. And so what Andy Stanley does, he says, I've made myself his biggest fan. I'm his biggest fan. That tames his envy. And whenever he goes to baseball games that his children's playing at, and another child is better than his kids, he goes to the parents of that child after the game and he congratulates them to go against his envy. So, for example, if your sister looks good in a dress, tell her that. If your brother-in-law has a great car, say so. If your coworker did really well in a presentation, say it, affirm him. If your friend has the house of your dreams, tell them. And if you can't celebrate other people's blessings, it could be a sign of a wound in your heart. So Dr. Bob Schutz, when he writes about healing from various wounds, he says that envy is quite often connected with unworthiness and shame. So we ask the question, do we suffer from a deep sense of unworthiness? Are we beset by shame? If you're not able to celebrate other people's blessings, maybe a very simple thing, next time you go to confession, just, without going into much detail, just name the nature of the envy. I don't want my sister to have it because I don't have it. Very simple. You name it, you expose it, you bring it to the light so you can conquer it. And if you can't do it out of love for Jesus, at least do it for yourself so that you're not resentful, so that you can find the peace and joy Jesus wants for you. So these two actions, this is what I did with my envy. So the first thing I did is I talked to God the Father about Father Richard's YouTube success. And after I vomited, I went to Father Richard and I celebrated it. I congratulated him. I've always wanted younger priests to be better than I am. Now, having been tested, I can say I really mean it. I do. So those two things, instead of focusing on me, I'm focusing on God the Father and on other people.